Simple instructions.
Mm-hmm.
I can follow that.
I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. I said, hey, welcome to the Man Cave Happy Hour. We're gonna drink a fine whiskey and smoke a really fine cigar.
Oh, it is time for happy hour. It is the Man Cave Happy Hour. Whiskey, cigars, spirits, the stories that go along with it. I'm Jamie Flanagan.
Spencer Burke.
And we are just celebrating. Spencer, it's a celebration today.
Bourbon Day.
It's National Bourbon Day. I call up Spencer and I'm like, hey, you want to drink a little bourbon for National Bourbon Day? And he's like, I got to be out by 6:30, but yeah. So we got to behave ourselves somewhat, but not completely. And, we thought it would be cool to talk about bourbon and talk about local bourbon. So whatever city you're in, wherever you're at, chances are there's a local distillery, because there's local distilleries in almost every town now. It's a beautiful thing. And there's always room for more. That's the beauty of it. And one of the great ones, and doing a great job and doing a unique job with, packaging, presentation, and just the whole experience, which is actually, we'll get into a whole bourbon experience discussion in a little bit, is the Detroit City Distillery. And also it's the Whiskey Factory. And with us from the Detroit City Distillery is Garrett. Garrett, what's your last name? Starts with a P.
Last name's Passiak. Don't worry, it's Polish Ukrainian.
All right.
Just call me Garrett.
Zhirkovsky. It's all right, Passiak. All right, we're past it now. All right. So, but Garrett, thanks for coming over to do a little cheers for National Bourbon Day. You brought a couple of bottles. I had one on tap just in case. It was one of the special bottles. And what sparked the conversation to have you guys come in was you guys just did a special release for the Detroit Free Press and their 150th anniversary celebration, and you did a special bottle, and it was like gone in 60 seconds.
Gone in 60 seconds. I don't even have one myself, to be honest. It's hiding somewhere, if it even exists anymore. But.
So did what was the special blend for the Detroit News one?
They did a corn, rye, barley. It's the award-winning strain that we have.
Okay.
So it's usually 68% corn, 27% rye, and 5% barley. So we keep our corn high, we keep our barley high, the rye high, and we keep the corn at a minimum.
Okay.
Reason being is because we believe in Michigan grains and climate. Master Distiller is a PhD in microbiology. Yeah. He's got the science behind Michigan climate.
That's Joey?
Yep. Oh, yeah. That's JP.
JP. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. And so it's what of the other bourbons, is that close to one of the other bourbons that's usually generally available?
Generally not.
Okay.
Because what they did is they selected what we call a single barrel.
Okay.
Now our regular butcher's cut bourbon, what I have with us today,
yeah,
that's our flagship.
Sure.
All right. So that's always going to be consistent. Now, our single barrels, like the News, our single barrels that we have here, like the smoked ones, those are hiding over in the rick house, in different spots and being aged at different points.
Okay.
So the Detroit News bottle, for instance, is a little bit older than the regular butcher's cut bourbon, but it's kind of unclimate controlled up there.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go and pick out a barrel, I always say, you've got the northeast side that's getting hit by the sun.
Yeah.
You've got the southeast side that might be hidden without the sun. But those barrels, when they fluctuate, that's that single barrel. We don't touch it. We don't blend it. And that's where those unique barrels come out, like the Detroit News one I had picked out for their.
All right. And so how did that come together? How did that collaboration is the word? How did that collaboration come together with you and the News? Was it their idea? And hey, can we do a barrel pick, or did you guys pitch it?
It was super fun. They reached out to us. So if you think about it, so it was their 150th anniversary. Yeah. They reached out to us and they said, something, because we do have a lot of single barrels. It's on social media, etc.
Yeah.
They reached out to us and they said, something, you guys have like double gold award-winning bourbons, because we did just win those in the San Francisco Spirits Contest.
Congrats.
Thank you. That's at the it's like the Olympics of bourbon.
Yeah.
So what they are spirits in general. And so what they ended up doing is they said, something, let's create a commemorative 150th anniversary bottle, the Detroit News with Detroit City Distillery.
Nice.
So not only did, in my opinion, I'm being a marketing nerd, the marketing work, the names just went ahead and like everything fell together. It just made sense. So
that's awesome. But so the flagship is the Butcher's Cut.
Yep.
You can find this everywhere. I see it in the big boxes and in the small guys and just everywhere. And of course down at the tasting room down in Eastern Market. And then when you guys have events at the Whiskey Factory, I DJ weddings and parties and stuff too. And I've done a few weddings inside the factory. So cool.
Yeah.
Such a great spot to party. But we keep talking and we're not drinking. It's National Bourbon Day. Let's Spencer, do me a favor. Pour us a little dram there we'll do a little cheers for National Bourbon Day and we'll get into more. It's a lot of pressure on Spencer. He had no idea he was going to have any responsibilities or have to speak or anything. I said,
don't worry, Spencer, you got it.
I said, get your butt over here and help me out.
He said it was for National Bourbon Day. I said, okay, I'll do it.
I'm in. All right. So gentlemen, National Bourbon Day, cheers. There you go.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
So I always sniff. I sniff everything now, even like pizza when I eat it. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" Like I'm sniffing.
I get the same.
It's like Pepsi. It's a Slurpee. Why are you sniffing it? I don't know. It's just reflex, honey. I can't help it.
Exactly.
All right. So has the Butcher Cut evolved at all? Because you guys have been around how long?
We are going on 9 years this September.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, it's been a little bit. So has the Butcher Cut evolved at all? Are you using the same yeast? Are you using the same blends? Is it evolving?
It's the same exact 68% corn, 27% rye, 5% barley. So that's like the recipe for it. Has it evolved in age? The answer is yes.
I was just gonna say, because I mean it's getting better.
Yeah.
So in the bottle, how old is this? Because to be bourbon, we'll get back to that too. But to be bourbon, it's got to be at least 2 years in the wood, right?
Yep, in the wood.
And then, so how long Butcher's Cut, generally speaking?
So the label says 2 years.
So everything has to be at least 2 years, right?
So then you have, well, technically, I mean, it doesn't have to be. It can be 24 hours.
Oh,
okay. So as long as it's aged for 1 day in a new charred American oak barrel, it can be considered bourbon.
Oh,
is it going to taste good? The answer is no.
No.
So
I thought it had to be 2 years in the wood.
Not 2 years in the wood necessarily.
Oh,
all
right.
They kind of fluctuate that, but you can go ahead and pour that, let it sit in that like aged oak barrel. That's the technical term.
Mm-hmm.
Over 2 days. So our first one that came out was 1 year, 9 months.
Yeah.
So it was less than 2 years.
Okay.
So when that went to the American Distillation Institute in a blind taste testing contest, they were shocked, Bourbon County, Kentucky, that they won Best Young Bourbon in the United States. And Michael Forsett, our owner, when he went to go ahead and receive the award down there, got like a boo. It was a fun boo. I always do the comparison. It's like Detroit losing a Coney dog contest.
Sure, yeah.
In Detroit.
Right.
Bourbon lost a bourbon contest in Bourbon County, Kentucky.
Yeah. It was a good-hearted boo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, because it's, some of the earlier ones were younger, and they have, because a younger bourbon has a younger taste, and it seems more mature. Yeah, that's nice.
So that one, I believe, and I could be speaking out, so it's going to say 2 years on the bottle.
Yeah.
This one does say 2 years on the back.
Yeah. So what happens if it's not like a single barrel? The regulation is even if it's 2 years, 11 months, you have to put 2 years.
Yeah.
Once it hits 3 years, then you can put 3 years on it.
Right.
But if you can't put 2 years, X amount of months on it. From my understanding, that's about 2 years, 9 months.
Okay.
And the reason it has that beautiful flavor is what I always tell individuals is because you go down to Bourbon County, Kentucky. All right. It takes 4 years because of their climate, because they do climate control storage. Summer, spring, it expands. Winter, fall, it goes ahead and contracts.
Yeah.
All right. We're all local here. I still to this day can't figure out if I'm going to leave the house wearing a tank top or a sweatshirt because our climate's so volatile.
Yeah.
Our barrels do this in 2 years, where it takes Kentucky 4 years. So Mother Nature speeds up the process. That's why I tell individuals when we're winning double gold medals, it's not necessarily about the climate, about the age. It's the climate it aged in, because Mother Nature is going to speed up those barrel processes. That's why a lot of individuals go ahead, and that's why it keeps winning back-to-back double gold over there in the San Francisco Spirits Contest. So,
Spencer, what are you getting out of the butcher's cut there? In the nose on that, and the taste. What are you getting?
Definitely get the oak on the nose. And the taste, I got a slight caramel. Got actually a little bit of banana flavor to it.
Yeah. When I first nosed it, I was getting the typical aromas of the vanilla and the caramel, but then after tasting it and then sniffing it again, I was getting floral. I was getting some a floral after tasting it. So you were saying something about the amount of alcohol and putting a drip in our hands, or
right? Yeah, this is a fun trick. This is what they do in a lot of like taste testings.
Yeah,
I'll clean up your table afterwards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What they used to do way back in the day for an authenticity test, find out if it was at least 50% alcohol, 100 proof, bottled and bond. Also, next step, is it at least aged in a new charred American oak barrel? Last step, is it at least 51% corn? Way back in the day, without that technology, you had to use your sense of smell. So what we do, if you guys want to follow, put about just a little dram on your hand and give that like a nice little rub there. Then on the count of 3, this is what we're going to do. We're going to open up our sense of smell, and whiskey's going to taste different after you do this.
All right.
So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, big whiff, go. So that's that. That's
Old
the alcohol.
Spice.
Right, there you go.
No, I'm kidding. No, no, I get the alcohol.
This is fun. Wave your hands up.
Waving our hands. All right.
Jazz hands. Very different scent.
Jazz hands.
Now, what you're doing is you're getting the ethanol to evaporate. So this is what I call applauding your whiskey. So this is a perfect day to do it. Happy National Bourbon Day. Now, second test, is it really aged in that new charred American oak barrel?
Yeah.
Count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Now take a big whiff. Go.
Oh yeah, that smells like the Rickhouse. It smells like the barrel.
Exactly.
That's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
One more time, then I'll stop punishing you.
All right, jazz hands.
Wave it out. Now, everyone's sense of smell is going to be different. So this might be similar to that second one, but I always say there's no wrong answer. If your hand smells like a barn, that's the right answer.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and get that mash bill on there. So
a little bit more like a hay.
More like the agricultural part of it. It's like you get the grains and everything, not so much actually the alcohol, but you get the grains and everything else from there.
Yep.
And that was a test they would do to just
back in the day. That's what judges do now too. Now, because I always consider distillation of bourbon almost like cooking. So I make the comparison. Remember, I said I'm Polish Ukrainian. When I walk into a kitchen, I smell kielbasa, pierogi, I get excited. So what you do there is you just excited your senses. Now tell me what the notes are there. It's going to taste a little bit different, in my opinion. Again, everyone's palate's different.
Oh, I got pepper this time.
Yep.
On the scent, right?
On the taste, huge. And I'm susceptible to suggestions, because when you said banana, I was like, oh yeah, banana. There's this another square bottle from in a charcoal filtered, and then they have a new 100 proof one, and that thing tastes like bananas. I don't know if you've tried that. It is like very banana. And when you mentioned that, I'm like, oh, there were some notes, but this time pepper. Did you get pepper?
Yeah, definitely got the pepper.
Yeah.
So I always, because I have a weird sense of smell, and my descriptions, I get like banana bread, I get dough, I get caramel, I get vanilla. Then after I do that trick we just did, then I start getting cardamom, I start getting clove, and I start getting pepper.
Okay. Yay. I like it when I get them right. And I haven't been seduced with suggestions, because I'm so easily swayed.
But it's also some flavors and scents that, like cardamom you mentioned, not everyone is familiar.
No, I have no idea what the hell that is.
What it tastes like or smells like. So certain things.
Cartman's mom, what? I don't.
Cartman's mom, yeah.
It's what? I just.
We're not in the South Park episode right now.
Cardamom it's a spice.
Okay.
It's similar to like clove. Yeah.
Usually not Indian dishes have that.
Okay. All right. See, he's a well-informed lad. That's why I called him in. I was like, Spence, I need a little help.
Spence is down. He knows.
Spencer, it's what do you look for in a bourbon? Because we've done tastings at your house. We've come over and we've gone places and you got cool stuff at your house. But when you're buying something, you're looking for something. What do you look for in a bourbon when you're buying it?
It depends. If I'm looking for just like a staple, just to get a bottle to share with my friends or just to have in the house, or if I'm looking for something unique, I want to try to find something that has like a flavor to it. I don't want to have just like a bland. Okay, here's a basic bourbon. Just here's 90 proof and just some alcohol taste. I want to have the flavor. I want to have get that spice, get that warmth, get like a full body to it. I don't want to have just like a light, just bland bourbon. I want to have that like sort of not in your face, but I want to have it in the nose and the palate itself and the taste, and just sitting there. I want to be able to, when it sits on your tongue, it sits there and not just dissipates really quickly.
Yeah, I'm always looking for something, and people go higher proof. I like some of the high proof ones, but it doesn't always have to be blowing your head off.
No, there's some high proofs that you and I've had that didn't taste the high proof.
Yeah,
they tasted really smooth, and that's the thing is that you can taste some really high proofs. I've had some 131s at the house, and they didn't taste the 131. You've had some 110s, 109s, and they tasted high.
Yeah.
But I always try to try something different. I don't want to always just go with the same one every single time.
I like having some options on the shelf for friends when they come over. It's like, hey, here, and then Colleen, my wife, she gets all mad at me. She's like, why are all these bottles on the shelf on the counter? I'm like, because we're having guests and I want to, show off the cool stuff and give an array. She's like, hell, just put one up and they'll drink it. Right. I'm like, you don't understand how this works, honey. Although your wife, Jennifer, does.
She sort of helps me on that. She goes, go get the bottle.
Yeah.
I don't have to think about it. You want it? Let's go get it. Let's try it.
Colleen won't join me in the bourbon drinks, but Jennifer will. Yes. So when we go over, it's like Colleen's drinking the wine and the three of us are doing the bourbon.
Spencer, where's my invite?
Yeah. Come on by next time. Got the shelf open and bottles to share.
Always. Nice. So what was the other one? Was the that's the 4-grain bourbon. And then we wanted to talk about, Garrett, at the Detroit City Distillery, and more specifically at the whiskey factory where the magic happens, is a new experience, and it's the bespoke experience.
Yes, the bespoke bourbon experience. And our whole thinking behind it was, because we have our tours that we have on Saturdays, and we get rave reviews about, I've been to Bourbon County, Kentucky, and this was like one of my favorite tours that I've ever been on. We wanted to elevate it to a point to where I had an idea, or we all had an idea, to go ahead and like elevate it to the next experience for, we legitimately just say, bourbon nerds. Okay. So we wanted it, I hate to use the word unprofessional and just off the cusp raw. So what we did is we built like a little kind of like speakeasy bar in the basement.
Oh,
so when you go on this tour,
it's getting better. I didn't know about the speakeasy bar in the basement.
We got a speakeasy.
You're holding out on the good stuff for the show.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So we got a speakeasy bar in the basement, and what you do, it's limited. It's about 20 individuals. It's every Thursday evening at about 6 p.m. Lasts about an hour and a half. But what we do is we go into a history of Detroit City Distillery, obviously. We explain to individuals, but we go into what does bourbon look like before it's aged. So we sample White Dog Lightning.
Nice.
All right. We sample our White Dog Lightning. That's like almost 120 proof. We show people how to proof it. So we use a hydrometer, and then we sneak down into the basement. And I always give the disclaimer, you're going to where normal people, like customers, do not go. You're going to see Cornbread and Lady Macbeth the cat. Okay. Corn cob. Sorry, Cornbread. You can't hear me. Because I always tell individuals cats are normal in distilleries. I think Jack Daniels had like 20 cats when I went there, because they keep things out that are other than cats.
Sure.
Because you got a lot of stuff in the basement.
Yeah.
You get to go around forklifts. You get to see the bottling room. You get to kind of like sneak through like a cave, and it's almost like an Indiana Jones bourbon type of experience that you have.
I love it.
And so the space is always going to look different because they store stuff, they'll move stuff. Sometimes I'll have to go back there and like get some more bottles because they moved everything. But what makes it is you get to sample that White Dog Lightning. Then you get to sample almost like a 1-year-old, okay, kind of style. And then you go to a 2021, and then we finish it off with a 2019.
Are you pulling anything right out of the barrel?
100%.
Very nice.
Yep, we're thieving it right out of the barrel.
Oh my God!
Except the White Dog
Right,
Lightning, we got a bottle that we pour.
Sure.
But that kind of goes ahead and sets people's palates of watch bourbon go from this to this.
Yeah.
And let's all sample it.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's got some fun options. There is an option that you could get your own like Glencairn glass that's all etched.
Okay.
You know? But it's a really fun experience. And this will be our third one coming up tomorrow.
Okay.
So we're excited because of National Bourbon Day. I know it's today.
Yeah. But you're going to keep things going and just keep these. It's a Thursday experience. It's when they happen. And as long as there's not some conflicting private event going on, you can book it. Can they go to the website and like book a space in these?
100%. Yeah. So if you go to the website, I believe there's a visit us.
Okay.
And that's one of the options. Either the Saturday public tour or the bespoke one.
And that was my question. So the Saturday tours will still be going on.
100%. Yeah.
And those are what's the Saturday tour? What happens on the Saturday tour?
Saturday tours, it's more of like a Detroit City Distillery experience to where you get the history of Detroit City Distillery. You get the history of why you're standing in an Old Stroh's ice cream factory.
Yeah.
We walk them through the distillation experience. You know, so for people that are just getting excited about bourbon, you know, I explain if you make an oatmeal, a beer, then you evaporate that off and throw it in a barrel. Then we go upstairs, and then I do the difference between bourbon and rye. We do that trick that we just did.
Yeah.
That's the public tour.
Okay.
Now on the bespoke tour, it's more of experienced bourbon individuals that they've been on tours all over, all over the country and sometimes the world. This is more delving into let's go to where normal, like you can't usually go. And let's sample that bourbon, you know, so people that already have a bourbon palate. So if I were to go through the distillation process, for instance, on the bespoke tour, you'd have a lot of people falling asleep. They're like, we know how to make it. Like, like
been there, done that.
Let's go sample.
Have the T-shirt.
Let's go downstairs to this bespoke like bar. And let's go sample.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between the two tours. It's more of like for the
it's a deeper dive
bourbon fan. It's a deeper dive into bourbon.
Okay.
For the public tours, it's an awesome, amazing, fun experience in Eastern Market about Detroit City Distillery in general.
All right.
With some whiskey sampling.
Is that every Thursday?
The bespoke tour, pretty much every Thursday, unless there's something going on. So there's a couple ones that are blocked out.
Yeah.
Saturdays, it's
But if you go to the website and try to book it, it'll offer you dates to come in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So and then so you get down there, you enjoy it. I lost where I was going. So you guys in the whiskey factory, like I mentioned, I DJ and we did some private events, and we did I did some weddings in there, and you guys did a special tasting. You were doing like cocktail nights in the whiskey factory when there weren't events going on, but you did a special tasting, and I was lucky enough to get the invite. Thank you. And I brought Spencer with me, and there were like 10 or 12 different blends to try. And you guys were picking, in the top 3 became this trilogy of blends that you guys put out, 1, 2, and 3. And this was before the pandemic. And I have one of those bottles here, the number 1, the smoked bourbon. We're going to give that a try. You just cracked open. So which one should we do first?
Let's end with that.
Okay.
With that one.
The smoked. All right. That I was going to say, but it was fun. Is the cocktail tasting room, is the whiskey factory open for cocktails? You guys were doing that for a little bit.
We were doing that for a bit. And the reason being
the pandemic and stuff.
The pandemic, because of the regulations with the spacing, it didn't make sense to have our tasting room open. So we opened up that space upstairs.
Yeah. And people couldn't have weddings because of
exactly. So there was no weddings. So we did that like super, in my opinion, that was an amazing kind of experience. All the tables were like socially distanced. Boom.
Yeah. And when we rolled through for the tasting, it was so cool. I was like, we got to come back for like the cocktail nights, you know?
Yeah.
And
the cocktail menus that we have at the tasting room over there on Riopel, our bar manager, Leo, he's hands down one of the best, I think, mixologists in, if not the United States, like the Midwest at least. for sure.
I think we're on episode like 110 or something, and like episode 7, I think we did from the tasting room.
Yeah.
And the cocktails were amazing. So I'll link, and we did another interview with Mike.
Mhm.
We did that downtown at a different recording studio, and we had an interview with him. I'll link those 2 interviews. You get more information on Mike's story and more of the background on the incarnation of Detroit City Distillery. So those will be linked in the notes. But all right, so we're gonna try this smoked bourbon that we did the tasting on in the whiskey factory. But what's this fella over here that you just cracked?
So this is what I call our newest addition to the family.
Oh, okay.
And when I say newest addition, I mean it's been aging for about the same amount of time. So you got 2 years, almost 9 months.
4 grain straight
But I
bourbon.
was going to say, looking at that, so you have all 4 grains in there. Which of the 4 grains?
So you've got 57% corn, 19% rye. We upped the barley to 12%, and then we added 12% Michigan red winter wheat.
Oh, wheat.
And so
You got a wheated one now, do you?
we got wheat one.
I don't know why I slipped into that crappy Irish accent, but hey, what the hell?
Maybe his hat.
All right, hit me, Mick.
All right. So a lot of times people always say, which one do you like the best? And it's really tough when you work for distillery.
Yeah,
It's almost like
Your child.
they're families.
Sure.
Who's your favorite friend? Who's your favorite pet? It depends on what mood you're in.
Okay.
All right, but you love them all. Now with bourbon, with the butcher's cut, it's got the nice bold kick to it. So that's
Mhm.
usually my go-to at like a party. When I'm going to be making cocktails and relaxing at home, I use the 4 grain because even though they're both 100 proof,
Mhm.
for some reason, from a chemical standpoint, that higher barley and that added wheat makes it a little bit more mellow.
Softer.
All right.
The wheat usually adds
Exactly.
softness to
All
it.
right. All right. So wheat. Do many of your other expressions have wheat in them?
We've got a bloodline whiskey
Okay.
that's 60% wheat,
Oh.
40% barley.
All right.
I believe 7% of that barley is smoked malted.
And so we were talking about the bespoke bourbon experience. Is there a bespoke expression? Is that what is the bespoke? What does that mean?
So the bespoke expression, you're sampling out of 3 barrels that no one's ever sampled out before.
Okay.
Including the White Dog Lightning.
Yeah.
So when people go pick a single barrel like that,
Yeah.
when the Detroit News goes to pick a single barrel like that, our master distiller JP picked out 3 kind of bespoke barrels that don't taste like anything that anyone's ever tasted before. So that's the fun thing, to go into that basement and just sample that from 2022
Okay.
to 2021 to
Right.
2019 from the young one. So we go
So there's not a bespoke. There's not a bottle with a bespoke
No.
label. Okay.
No.
not yet. That's a
Okay.
teaser. Stay tuned.
Okay.
That's what I was expecting to see. One of the bottles. with that
That's
in
what
there.
I thought that was going to be in this 4 grain straight bourbon. I love and again, the bottling and the labels, it's all very Detroit centric.
Yeah.
The butcher's cut, because I believe it was Mike's grandfather or great grandfather.
JP's grandfather.
JP was a butcher down in the Eastern Market, and might have actually been in the building that was the tasting room now, or
He was-
nearby it, or something.
He was nearby. He was a butcher after World War II. When he immigrated to the United States, he started making whiskey and like out of a butcher shop. So he was a butcher and, quote, a bootlegger.
Yeah.
So did he learn how to make bourbon from his family?
I believe so. Yep.
And then
Okay.
took it and got the whole crazy mad scientist degree
I think-
cap it off.
I think he traded in his motorcycle for a rifle just for security purposes. The story's on the back. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it is. It's soft. I don't know if I'm getting anything green on the internet.
Soft on the nose.
Yeah. All right. Oh yeah,
You
it's
could
definitely.
tell this sweeter, mellower.
Yeah.
Even for the same. You're saying tell me the same proof, which I wouldn't have thought that right away if you didn't tell me that.
It seems like it's lower proof, doesn't
Yes.
it? Yep. But no, they're both 100 proof.
Yeah.
But that just shows you the magic and how awesome bourbon is,
Right.
because you can just fluctuate that recipe. And
Mhm.
I always do culinary comparisons, because distillation is like cooking. So when some people can't wrap their head around like the percentage of the grains, I'd say think of a chili cook-off. Chili's chili, bourbon's bourbon. All right. Someone's going to add a little bit more corn, rye, barley, maybe add some wheat to it. In chili, someone's going to add a little bit more beans, a little bit different spices, etc. But it's always going to be chili. So that's how I always kind of compare bourbons, because a lot of individuals think all bourbon's the same. which is not true, as we all know. So it's that fluctuation of the 100% mash bill that I say, all right, think about like chili. You know, chili's chili, bourbon's bourbon again. That's what I always compare it to. A distiller is like a master chef of bourbon.
Is there an age on the 4 grain?
You said this is 2 years, right?
Oh, is it another 2 years?
Yeah, it's about 2 years, 5 months.
Okay, 5 months. Okay.
All right.
So this has definitely got my flavor that I like a lot, because I've been going towards a lot of the wheated bourbons, or at least somewhat wheat in there, where this one doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's got a lot of the flavors that I've been drinking a lot lately.
Yeah.
If I'm sipping alone at home, I do butcher's cut. If I have guests over, I kind of break out this, because you're always going to have a guest that's like, you know, gets that like little like shot reaction with the boldness of like that natural like bottled and bond style of bourbon. And then this one right here, bourbon fans love it, and then non-bourbon fans love it. That's why I like the 4 grain.
Yeah, this would be actually, even if people are coming over, if they're bourbon fans, you start with the one that tastes mellow, even though it's not.
Yeah.
To go with the spicy one, just to prime the palate also as well.
Because that's probably why we avoided this, because this is smoked, and I think it's very smoky. From what I recollect, it was very smoky. Somebody had a bottle. Did you have a bottle of this?
No, I didn't have that one.
All right, it might have been Matt Fox. And we killed it. And then this one's been sitting on the shelf, but I remember it being very smoky. And I'm looking forward to diving back into that fella. And I
came into your tasting room. Actually, you had the honey release.
Yep, the honey bourbon release.
Yes.
That's I make the joke too. I don't have one of those bottles, and I don't have a honey bourbon bottle. That's how quick and how popular they are, because obviously customers first.
Oh, there were people, a revolving door essentially.
Yeah.
When we were in there having the tasting, there were people going in and out, just constantly just picking up bottles that they had pre-bought.
Yep.
There's a lot of legs on this. There's a lot of oils in this in the 4 grain, because it's sticking to my palate, I think, a little bit more than the butcher's cut.
Yeah, because it's more of a complex style, like because you have the 4 grains in there, and the way that
the corn, you said
57% corn, 19% rye, 12% barley, 12% Michigan red winter wheat.
You got all those numbers in your head. And it's like he gets to the bank, he's like, shit, what's my PIN code?
That actually happens all the time.
It's like 57% corn. Damn it.
I did that the other day. I had to like call my bank, like I forgot my PIN number. What the hell?
There's only so much room up there.
Yeah.
Because my kid, like I teach high school too. It's like my kids will ask me something, and then it's like, and I'm like, I only have so much room up in this dome.
But we call it mental real estate.
Yeah, and I go, and that little bit of information right there ain't one of them.
Right.
And they just look at me
certain
like,
real estate is more prime than others.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's nice. It seems to get stronger on the subsequent sips to me. So
on the 4 grain for sure.
That's nice. That's good. That's the weedy. Are you getting grassy at all? I'm not. It's weedy.
You definitely get a little more syrupy to it. It's like tastes thicker.
Yeah.
So
okay.
you're saying the legs on there, but it sticks to your mouth, and the flavors stays longer. It doesn't dissipate as quickly as some of the others. But you're not getting a high alcohol flavor. Like it's not, the alcohol is not hitting you. The flavors and all the scents are coming out there, and it's sticking around and hanging out there versus just dissipating. Sure.
So the butcher's cut, like I said, I see that everywhere. Kroger, Meijer, and every party store in between. It's around. I see barrel picks, stores that do barrel picks. We're here at the Podcast Your Voice studios on the border of Berkeley and Southfield, Greenfield, and there's a beverage warehouse. I think they're pretty good friends of the distillery, and they've done a few barrel picks. I've seen the barrel picks in there, and a few of the other party stores, the regular party stores. I don't know. Did Tony at the Wine Garden do one?
I don't believe my boss would know.
Yeah, okay. But I know I saw one. I know I saw them at the Beverage Warehouse, and they do the barrel picks. So those are the bourbon cut. The butcher's cut is readily available. What about the 4-grain bourbon? Is where are we going to find these other expressions?
4-grain bourbon you can find now statewide.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can get those in the Myers. You can get those in like the big guys, the small guys, etc.
Okay.
Just this year.
Yep.
Okay.
Beverage Warehouse. So this is new. So you
Okay.
can go ahead and this isn't limited to
So
the
you-
factory.
Okay.
Yep.
Are there any right now that are limited to the factory, but you got to come in and you can get them there?
Right now it's the Bloodline whiskey. So
Bloodline?
that's the 60% wheat, the 40% barley. And
Ooh.
again, I believe so that was out in my opinion.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to JP about it. Japan randomly contacted us and
Nice.
they had an executive fly in and pick up a couple bottles because we have a cult following over there.
Okay.
I said, well, what's the most popular thing over there? And they said the Bloodline.
They like their whiskeys there.
It's almost, and plus the Detroit name,
Mhm.
it's it carries some weight. It's funny. I was in Ireland, and I'm just at a gas station pumping gas. I had like a made in Detroit t-shirt on or something, or one of my Detroit shirts, and somebody was like, "Are you visiting from the States?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "You're from Detroit?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and I go, "Actually, I'm born and raised in the city, so I'm actually a Detroiter." And they're like, "Oh my God, do you know Eminem?" And I'm like, well, actually, I went bowling with him. Yeah. So,
Nice.
Yeah, it's because my friends of mine, Joel over at 54 Sound and
Yep.
Quig worked out of there, and so I knew that, and so their Christmas party, they had it at the little bowling alley down on 9 Mile there in D12, and Eminem and everyone were bowling with it was just the studio party, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I went bowling with Eminem, but so but just people just love the Detroit name. Worldwide, they're enamored with it, and so but the Japanese folks but they like the Bloodline the most.
They like the Bloodline, and I was talking with our
these
distiller,
guys.
and he said it's kind of so our Bloodline is with that wheat barley mix is kind of mimics almost like an Irish style, Scotch style, or a Japanese style whiskey.
Okay.
And it was the most amazing. He came in and said what they do in Japan is they'll go ahead and take mineral water and they'll hit it on all the scotches and they'll judge which whiskey's better based on the mineral water. And in a blind taste test with like a staff at a restaurant, our Bloodline won.
Sure.
And so everyone loves our Bloodline.
Okay.
And like different mineral waters in Japan. He said, I didn't know this. This is new to me. Different mineral waters in Japan, they list the ingredients. So people go into in Japan and they say, I would like this, that, magnesium, iron, and this percentage in my mineral water.
Wow.
Which doesn't exist here.
I've never tasted mineral water and compared the two.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, compare whiskey all day.
Yeah.
But apparently it's a big deal when people do what they call water the garden.
Sure.
By dropping a couple drops of water in a whiskey.
Yeah.
In their case, Japanese whiskey, our Bloodline whiskey, they apparently it won, and I think Evian, and not Fiji, some other two of those, won, and that's what they serve at the bar now in Japan.
Okay,
I guess that makes sense because some friend of the family I know that actually ships in ice cubes from Japan because the taste of it. Instead of dilutes and affects the taste of certain drinks. So they're able to taste the difference there. And I'm like, okay, well, I've never tasted the difference of the ice cube from Japan versus Czech or Spain or Africa. But
yeah. So the water that's used for the Detroit City Distillery, is that coming right out of just out of the spigot?
So I'll tell you this. So it's Great Lakes water.
Okay.
And we do a charcoal filtration system.
Okay.
So charcoal filtration, it mimics the old school limestone filtration that they have in Bourbon County, Kentucky.
Yep.
So it brings it to the same pH level and quality of limestone filtrated water.
And that's speaking of that, actually, people always say, we talked about that before we came on, is that, okay, it's not from Bourbon County. Well, it's not going to taste the same because it's not coming from the soil, from the limestone from Bourbon County, or it's not from Bourbon County. It's not their oak.
That's it. Yeah, that's a good point. And what my thing with that is, in my bourbon studies, in my travels down to Bourbon County, Kentucky, it's a very, very high tie to the culture of that Bourbon County invented bourbon off of the limestone filtrated rivers, which was at that time was still the highest, or like the best quality water that was natural in the 48 continental United States. But if you think about it, when you fast forward, now look at bottled water.
Yeah.
Technology goes ahead and fast forwards that. You can make that water from a technical standpoint. All right. What you have to do in our case, when you go ahead and look at it, is it really the water that's the highest like concentration of it, or is it the quality of Michigan corn, Michigan rye, Michigan wheat, Midwest style grains that aren't imported? So is it the water, or is it basically the grain?
Is it the water has something to do with it? And because a Guinness, you know, it just having a Guinness in Ireland when it's fresh, and that why there's something about the water, you know, it's just something about it. And I go on vacation and you drink water someplace else, you're like, oh, even in the States. I mean, I'm talking going to Mexico or something.
Even Arizona, you go to Arizona, you don't want to drink the water because the water's straight from the tap. You go to a restaurant, I don't drink it there because you can see the coloration of it floats sitting in there.
Yeah, so we're kind of spoiled here in the Metro Detroit area with our water.
I didn't know that Great Lakes water, there was like a water test, and I can't speak to it 100%, but apparently Michigan and people, I always get the joke. Sorry if anyone was from Flint. Do you use Flint water? And I'm like, no, like we use Great Lakes. I didn't know they did a national test of like the best waters, and apparently Great Lakes waters is number 4 or 5 in quality standard in the United States.
All right.
But I can see what you're saying, that you look at the grains, you look at the corn, you look at the ingredients in there where they're grown versus the water itself, what's going to impart the most flavor. You look at all the grains, what's in there versus the water that's grown with. You got to get the grains. So where that's actually raised, if you go to Virginia, you go to Colorado, California, you go to Kentucky, the agricultural area is going to make difference with the soil and how it's grown.
Right.
And then the wood is huge. The wood is
huge. You were
huge.
talking about the wood. We talked about that before the show. Okay, so obviously it doesn't have to be from Kentucky, the oak.
As long as it's 4-time charred new oak.
New oak. So where other distillers have used non-American oak. They had a Mongolian, they've had French, but they've also, people have done, obviously we talked about before, every state that has a distillery, or just about.
Oh God, yeah, I'm sure.
Almost,
I would wager and go yes.
There's got to be every state that has a distillery.
Oh hell yeah.
Maybe we may not know about it. It may be a very small mom and pop distillery, but there's got to be one in every state.
Easily. Yeah. So I just noticed this is I remember now it comes back to me, Bespoke Bourbon Series single barrel. That these were it was the Bespoke Series 1, 2, and 3.
Yep.
I have 1 and 2. I didn't get a 3. So I have another number 1 at home I haven't cracked yet. I had 2 of them. I'm like, I'll just take this fella in and crack it, because it's like these, you know, bourbon was made for drinking. It's like, you know, people collect them, and I'm like, why? It's a lot of, you know, 170, 50. $150.
I forget who it was. Some master distiller said
it ain't no Beanie Baby, man. It ain't going up in value.
there's only 2 type of bourbon bottles you should have in your bar: a full one or an empty one.
Right.
There's also one. You drink it, and you drink it to share.
Yeah.
You drink it, you know, by yourself. It's better to drink it with someone else.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing I would say. You came over, I come to your house. Okay, what bottle do you want to crack open? Let's open it. Oh, you haven't opened it yet. Don't worry about it. I want to open it. I want to share it. That's the purpose of the bourbon. I want to be able to share with people. I don't want to sit there and just drink it. My wife and I drink it together. Yes.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to, when people come over, that's the purpose of it. I want to be able to share it. I'm like, you know, I'm not selling my bottles. I'm going, if I can get it, I get it, and I drink it.
So this bottle is even more appropriate today.
Yeah.
It's the Bespoke Series. So don't call it a comeback. You guys are going to maybe revisit the Bespoke. 100%. So when somebody comes and does the Bespoke tour, or if somebody just has more money than they know what to do with, can they buy a barrel and you know, from you guys? Because you get like what, like How many cases?
You
out
get
of a-
about you get
out of a
about
barrel?
you get about
10.
you
How
get
many?
about 240 bottles
240.
at max, anywhere from 220 to 240, depending on the angel share.
Right,
Depending
right.
on how long it's aged, though, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the longer it's aged, the less bottles you're gonna get.
Right, right.
And lots of individuals ask about, like, we're starting to get single barrels that are starting to pop up, and we're getting worried that they're all going to disappear. That's how popular it's starting to get.
Yeah.
What a lot of individuals do, which I kind of tell people, I say, you know, so you might not be able to afford this on your own. Whiskey clubs.
Sure. Yeah.
You take that price of the barrel, you split it between like 30 people.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I always make the joke. I'm like, well, you know, you get your label. You can get like your engraved, even you can get it waxed, just like that.
Yeah.
I say the only difficult part about that is fighting over who gets the barrel to put in their basement.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so that is a
couple people I know.
possibility that.
Yep,
people can do
100%.
that.
Yeah, for individuals on the bespoke tour, definitely come in if you are serious about a barrel. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
All right.
A friend of mine does that. He does tastings and he buys barrels and does the tastings and sells them at the stores around Michigan.
Yep.
So this is the bespoke bourbon series, single
Mhm.
barrel. This was pre-pandemic. I don't know exactly when this went down. Oh, well, it was no, this is just batch 1, bottle 14 of 131.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's only 131 bottles out of that barrel then. It aged 2 years, 100 proof. Do you have a bottled in bond? Because most of these are coming in at 100 proof.
We're getting there.
Okay.
We do have a bottle and bond. I believe the free press bottle is a bottle and bond. It's aged 4 years.
The news?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Or sorry, yeah, Detroit News.
Those
Sorry,
guys?
Detroit News. I can't keep track of
They
your media.
both. They
I can't keep track of you guys. I love you both.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's like AM radio. They'll be gone soon. Oh, they're the same thing. It's the same. All right. So we're this bottle is darker. The smoked one.
Yep.
Is darker, and just on the nose, there's a whole lot more. It's not campfire, but there's definite.
You get the smoke, you get the flavor. This is
charcoal.
sort of like you and I talked about earlier before it came on. Okay, you look at these two side by side.
Yep.
Both clear bottles,
Mhm.
but they clearly look different.
Exactly.
And you can see them if you turn them side by
Yeah,
side.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Look at the difference.
There's a different color in those for sure. Woo. Yeah. Okay, I remember this guy.
That one's really.
It's been
good.
it's been a couple of years.
Natural smoke without having to buy a smoker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have to buy a smoker for this one.
No.
Oh, and it sits.
I like.
It's charcoal. The smoke it sits as charcoal.
I get smoke, maple syrup, and then on the end, if you want to go ahead and hear me out on this one,
Mm-hmm.
smoke, maple syrup. You get that caramel. Breathe in, then I get butterscotch. You breathe out, I get pepper and lemongrass.
I don't know lemongrass, so I can't concur with that one. But most of the others I do.
It's more of the citrus end to it, which I think they did a really good job on that blend.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of but I'm getting peppery.
I got the pepper,
spicy
the maple
on the breathe out. Oh, that's good.
And this is also something that we talked about before. Is like people think about wine. They go, okay, how it tastes. Look at different flavors. People think, oh, it's bourbon. You know, what are you going to get different flavors for? No, if you don't drink bourbon, you don't know the different flavors. Until you start drinking bourbon, then you realize the different flavors that you smell, you impart on it, the taste, lingering. You know, you talked about the legs. You usually hear people saying about the wine, look at the legs. Okay, look at the color. All that is, you know, it's still an alcoholic drink. It's still going to impart different flavors as your blend, your age, or however the process is that you're doing it, or if it's in Kentucky, if it's in Detroit, or which, you know, level the brick house or where it's facing to.
Yeah. Oh, there's yummy. That was yummy.
It is yummy.
Definitely.
I like that because I'll do that when you can go out, you get like a smoked old fashioned, and they, you know, they got the little accoutrement, and they come over to your table and just like puff of smoke, and it was like, but it does infuse it for that cocktail. And
exactly.
It's nice. This has it's quite a bit of that in it. I'm looking for. I'm going to do a cocktail with this and see if it holds up, because that's always a question. I know I've done cocktails, and the cocktails we talked about, the tasting room, the Detroit City Distillery next to Henry the Hatter, or Henry the Hatter next to you now because they moved in there. Right. You were there first. Henry's been in the city first, but you were there first. Great cocktails, and your bar staff down there. Like I said, with episode early episode, like 7 or something. We'll post it in the thing. Great cocktails you guys come up with. They come up with down there, and mixing these together, they're great too. So yeah.
We talked about also, besides sharing the bourbon, there's certain bourbons that you want to like just put in a cocktail.
Mhm.
You know, if you have these unique ones that are these single barrels that you only can have 30 bottles that are around, you're not going to sit there. You want to enjoy the taste. You want to enjoy the flavor. Other ones, okay, you'll impart, you know, if you look at certain ones, okay, you want to add a little more spice to it. Okay, put the butcher's cut in there. If you want to have, you know, more mellow, you know, depending on what you're going to mix in there, you're also going to still taste it, not just neat. You're going to still get it in the cocktail.
And that's what they do there, which I think is amazing when it comes down to, I know some bartenders don't like to be called mixologists. They want to be called bartenders, and then others do want to be called mixologists.
Yeah.
When it comes down to making a perfect cocktail, all right, in my opinion, when you go into a bar, and this is the case at Detroit City Distillery, our bar manager, Leo, there's a stack of cookbooks and like 2 bartenders books.
Oh, okay.
Because again, it's like cooking. It isn't art. It's mixology is you want to get the flavors that aren't alcohol right to come and go ahead and make sure they work with this.
Yeah.
Hence back to the Japanese, like mineral water. You want to make sure that all the ingredients are bringing out and not ruining that alcohol. So
yeah,
it's like where like normally like I would go like more rye or rye itself when I'm making my old fashioned, because like the sweetness to counter that. But this actually does make a really good old fashioned, the butcher's cut.
Oh yeah, big time.
Well, gentlemen, thank you, Garrett. Thanks for
you guys
being
are
here.
awesome. I want to hang out here more.
Well, yeah, it's anytime, and we do it all the time. We're gonna come and we're gonna crash the party. We're gonna walk through the bespoke experience.
Love that. Yep.
And we're gonna like video it and do a step by step and go through it. Mike invited us, so we're coming. Mike invites us, we come. So
I'm ready.
But it's National Bourbon Day, and thanks for coming in and sharing these with us.
Cheers to bourbon.
Cheers
to you. So nice to meet you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.